Forget Dubai, forget Miami, heck, even forget Singapore. Manila is now the new luxury real estate capital of the world as it now lays claim to having the fastest high-end property prices in the world. Meanwhile, on the flip side of the coin, US metros saw lackluster performance in high-end home prices in the third quarter of 2023. Evan, says who? Says Knight Frank, one of the most trusted real estate consultancy companies based in London since 1896. That being said, is the Philippine real estate market in a bubble? Is it only up from here? And why in the world are we outperforming some of the most wealthy cities globally? Stick around to find out. So how much exactly has Manila's real estate property prices skyrocketed? Well, being the capital of the Philippines, luxury home prices rose a staggering 21.2% just this past 2023, all the way up to September of 2023. And just to put that into perspective, Manila's property prices within a 12-month span rose by 21.2%, while Dubai only experienced a 15% increase. Thus, surprisingly, even a city like Dubai came in second to Manila's market growth. And while that is impressive, I just can't help but question, is it really justifiable for Manila to be growing this much at this rate? Could it be that these are faulty market evaluations? And while I don't know how these property prices are valued, Manila practically outperforms some of the most globally renowned cities, thus making it the fastest growing real estate market in the world this past 2023. Now, we do have to bear in mind that Manila is a very reputable hotspot for international business. That said, the stellar performance of the high-ticket home market can likely be linked to the domestic and foreign investments that are coming in. And if you compare Manila's growth to other cities worldwide, it's shocking, honestly. With Manila being top dog this quarter, cities like Dubai, Shanghai, Mumbai, and Madrid also followed as the top 5 fastest appreciating markets as well. Now, while all this growth sounds dandy and all, especially for you property owners out here, there may be a caveat. And by the way, if you're planning on moving to the Philippines, it's needless to say that this is a very significant new chapter of your life that you may need help with navigating. That being said, I created a free 15-step checklist in the link in the description down below. It walks through the crucial steps that you need to take for a successful move abroad. From opening up a bank account, getting the visa that you desire, getting SIM cards, and exchanging your money, all this free information is in the link in the description down below, so feel free to get access to it there. According to Liam Bailey, the global head of research at Knight Frank, he states, higher rates mean we have moved into a world of lower asset price growth, and investors will need to work harder to identify opportunities for outperformance to secure target returns. And I think we can agree, after having experienced outrageous price growth like this, it brings us to wonder what the banks will do with the interest rates here. If they see that the market here is growing too rapidly, chances are they're going to increase interest rates, and interest rates in the Philippines are already high as it is. And funnily enough, that's exactly what the head of Knight Frank said. While 67% of the market saw prices rise over this past year, only 63% saw a rise this past quarter. And so Liam Bailey from Knight Frank, his report said, this indicates lingering uncertainty primarily due to the potential for further interest rate hikes. And so, while Manila ranked top of the charts this year in terms of growth, surprisingly, the US dominated the lower end of the rankings. All of us Americans are probably very surprised with how high housing prices are out here these days. For example, San Francisco surprisingly experienced a 9.7% market price drop. Yes, that's right, a drop in the prices. And this was the worst annual performance of all the US cities. Meanwhile, New York's prices fell by 4% and Los Angeles crumpled by 1.9%. And so now that we've covered the concrete facts and statistics, I want to dive into my personal experience after having lived in Manila for the past 4 years now. When it comes to property prices within the major cities of Manila, I'm talking BGC, Makati, Ortigas, Mandaluyong, I honestly have no clue how the average local can afford it. Why? Because the average local can't afford it. Let me put this into perspective. The average monthly salary for the local Filipino is roughly around 15,000 pesos per month. That's less than $300 per month. And I did some digging, and guess how much the average one bedroom in a city like Ortigas costs? Only one bedroom, okay? 8 million pesos, or roughly $160,000. and that would be considered on one of the lower end of the units there. My point being, it is virtually impossible for the average local to afford buying, let alone even renting in the major cities of the Philippines. Rent on the lowest end in BGC is roughly 25,000 pesos or $500 per month, and that's just about as affordable as it gets here. And so just to set the expectation, granted, while the lifestyle that you get in BGC is wonderful, if you're comparing it to the West, like major cities like California, New York, or Chicago, yes, it is more affordable than these cities. However, it can be on par with some other smaller Western cities. Now, just out of curiosity's sake, if you're like me, you might have also wondered how much property prices have jumped within the most premium residences in Manila. I'm talking the creme de la creme of homes. Well, according to an article by Billionaire from April of 2023, land in Dasmariñas village was priced at 554,000 pesos per square meter, making it the most expensive village in the whole country. And while I'm not the best at math, I believe that's over $1,100 per square foot in the Philippines. Meanwhile, the famous Forbes Park stood at around 507,000 pesos per square meter. Now, of course, if you were to live in one of these villages, you're not just gonna buy 1 square meter of land. And so let's say you buy a 2,000 square foot lot in Dasmariñas village, just the land alone without a house. In that case, you would be paying 1.1 billion pesos for just the land alone. That's nearly $20 million just for some grass. Granted, it is the filthiest rich grass that you can possibly sleep on if you also have money set aside to build a house as well, but you get my point. Land alone and lots alone in these villages are very expensive. But man, $20 million just to live in some of the most prestigious zip codes within the Philippines just goes to show how much money there really is out here. And to think that what now is 507,000 pesos per square meter in a place like Forbes Park was only 200 pesos per square meter back in 1969. Meanwhile, in Dasmariñas village, it was only 156 pesos per square meter back at that time. Pretty crazy, right? And so it just goes to show that Manila's real estate prices have truly been booming over recent years. Now, if we're talking the most luxury slice of living within the Philippines, especially within BGC, that would be Shangri-La at the Fort. We all recognize Shangri-La as a very expensive hotel, but they also have their own residences here in Shangri-La called Horizon Homes. The prestigious and very exclusive property only has 98 units within it. And so in terms of how much it costs to live here, the price per square meter for a residence here used to roughly be 800,000 pesos per square meter, and that was not too long ago. But just only recently, the price just shot up to 881,000 pesos per square meter. So an 81,000 pesos jump within a couple of weeks. That's nearly 16,000 pesos for every square meter, as it continues to remain as the most expensive piece of real estate within the country. So we asked the question again, what's really driving these property prices? Well, while we did mention foreign and domestic investors playing a role in this, it could also be that the high-end real estate market in the Philippines is mostly dominated by only 3 to 4 luxury real estate developers. And of course, I'm sure that they can make faulty price projections with very little regulation. But one undeniable factor is also the POGO industry here. That plays a huge role with real estate prices. While this can be a whole separate video in itself, POGO stands for the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators. And to be honest with you, this is one of the worst parts about living in Manila cities. I'm just gonna be completely real. POGO companies are basically illegal Chinese gambling companies that resorted to the Philippines to run their operations offshore. And let me just say it in the most polite way I can. If you are living in a POGO infested development where a lot of these workers are staying in, it's not the nicest place to be. I don't mean to be rude, but you can spot a POGO worker from a mile away. First off, you don't want to live in these developments in BGC infested with POGO workers. Why? Well, because they're disrespectful, they spit everywhere, even indoors, they throw their cigarettes in the pool, the units stink, and it is just the worst. And so, while I don't mean to be rude, as always on the channel, I'm going to be completely real with you. If you're planning on moving to BGC, there are a select few developments where these Chinese offshore gaming companies will put their POGO worker employees, and all in all, it's not always a nice environment to be in with them being your neighbors. But with that being said, the POGO industry is also a huge and massive contributing factor to Philippine real estate prices skyrocketing. And if these companies also take their POGO workers and bring them back to China and have to sell off their properties, the property prices here would probably also drop. And so there you have it, savvy expats. It seems to be that the sleeping tiger of Asia is finally awaking from its slumber. For every like on this video, let's hope that property prices here will decrease by another $1. And also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this subject matter within the comments down below. Will the Philippine real estate market continue to increase with its prices? Are we in a real estate bubble? Or does the longer we wait mean the more we miss out on potential gains as investors? Anyways, thank you so much for watching, Savvy Expats. It was a pleasure, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.